Well, I tell you, he did look good. He did look good for an old man. Again,
he did. He looked really good.
The transformation for Leo's body, and mine went the total opposite direction.
With promotions and how women are promoted in the United States. Matchroom has been promoting the women in England, and I think it's wonderful what Eddie Hearn and Matchroom are doing for the females, because I wanted it so bad. And I think I wanted it more because people said no. So I was in such a broken place that I was just like, I was like, okay, what's next? Because I was so unaware and of myself. I dealt with I was clinically depressed. I had seasonal affective disorder. Living in the future creates anxiety, and living in the past creates depression.
Guys, welcome to the Zapata Brand podcast. And of course, you know who that is. That's Leo Talenka. Kind enough to join us here on a Wednesday night here. Quick Hits are usually on Thursday, but Jersey Jay-Z, Coach Diz, busy tonight. I want to get you on, Leo, before we go into our guest tonight, Maureen Shea.
Yep.
Called you in here real quickly to go over your boxing debut last Saturday, November 4th. First of all, was a draw. There's a lot of shit that happened. Let's start with that. Yep. A lot of fights changing last minute, people dropping out, coming back in. So let's go over to the first thing. You initially had a fight with Wayne, which we announced here on the show.
Right.
That got changed. A lot of medical issues going on with you had to get this test, that test. It wouldn't have been done in time.
Yep.
So again, that's what happened. So after that happens, who jumped in after that? I don't recall.
Frank Kane jumped in.
Okay.
Said he would help out.
So Frank Kane jumps in. It was a coach's exhibition, which was good for the show because it could show what you've been working on for a good part of 3 years,
right?
Actually.
Yeah.
And went from 256 to what'd you weigh in?
I weighed in at 186.5.
186.5. That is a huge drop down. Boy, that's 60 pounds.
Yeah.
Holy crap. How'd you feel? How'd you feel?
I felt awesome.
Okay.
I felt really good. I trained hard. I did everything I was supposed to do.
Right.
And other than the opponents backing out, what do we have? 6, George? I think 6 opponents.
Total.
And the last opponent backed out on Friday, the Friday before the fight.
Yeah, and that was one thing. I don't know when is your meeting with USA Boxing?
So I actually spoke to them today about everything that's going on, and I said to them, and I talked with Joe Devine about, something has to be done with these fighters backing out all the time. Not just with me and you and Diz, we see it all the time. And Coach Rich, fighters back out the week of the fight. And, it's hard on the matchmaker. It's hard on everybody. Its stress level goes from 0 to 10. And
let alone the fact that you're fighting.
Oh, right.
You're fighting, running the show, how many matches were made? I mean, by the matchmaker, there's a lot of shit that happened.
Yep.
So going forward, do you have, let's go back to the fight real quick before we go forward. Went to a draw. It showed the kids again, what the work you put in and what you can accomplish there in a short period, meaning you made a decision to go have a fight. You did.
Yeah.
So getting into the ring, what's going through your mind from the walkout?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I see what the kids go through with their first fight, second fight, third fight, because I felt what they felt. I know I was in shape.
Right.
I know I didn't have much to worry about, and Coach Diz trained me hard, and so did Rich. But I see what they go through.
Right.
Meaning the nervousness, the good energy, which all that makes you tired. And now I understand exactly what they're going through. And that's what I wanted. That was one of my main goals, for them to show me you know, for me training on my own was teaching them that they have to come in and do more work on their own, you know, and it's working because now the gym is packed. 3:30, there's kids there already training, and they don't want to go home.
People. Yeah, you don't got to be calling people,
right?
To show up. You
right.
know what's funny? I was talking to Boom Boom Mancini today, and he said when he was talking, I was talking to him about his preparation for his fights, and he was saying there's a mind battle that goes on: negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. And he explained it like you gotta flush it out. The second a negative thought comes in, it's like flushing a toilet. Get it out. You can't, because it's hard.
And I'll be honest with you, I talked to Maureen about it a lot, Maureen Shea, and she told me the same thing. She said, I don't care if you're a professional, a master, an amateur, an MMA fighter, it doesn't matter. 2 weeks before the fight, you're like nervous. Did I train enough? Did I do this enough? And she kept she actually helped me walk through it all. She's like, relax, your training's on point. You did everything you're supposed to do, so don't worry. The hard part for me was I had to set everything up. I'm back there supposed to fight, and I'm worried about is my last opponent going to show up, and is everything being ran right? Because normally I run the show, as you know, and it was a lot of stress on me.
Let's give Code Man some credit here, buddy.
Oh yeah, Code Man did good.
Yeah, run the show. So no, I mean I get it, but you being the promoter of the event, there's a different thing because you want everything to be perfect.
Correct.
So in the meantime, you're in the back there getting ready to warm up, got your hands taped or whatever, and we're looking for one of the fighters. Running around like, where the hell did this guy go?
Yeah.
So let's go fast forward a little bit now to your meeting here. I think we should have with USA Boxing. What kind of protocol should there be?
I'm pushing for coaches and fighters. If they say they want to be on your show, okay, let's throw $20 for each person. When you show up at the event, I give you your money back. If you don't show up, then that money either goes to the promoter or to the fighter, one or the other. That's how I think it should work.
I don't know the legal ramifications of that, where it goes to an amateur, but I
don't know if there really is anything.
I mean, it is the amateur's time. It's his thing. He shows up. I'm sure he's paying for gas to get there. It was different back in when I was boxing there in New Jersey. There was so many people, so many books. You had these little cards. I don't even think you had a book at one point. I remember you just had a little. I remember
you telling me. Yeah.
Yeah, like a little thing, and you would go in and show it. So, but there was such an array of fighters. If you didn't want to fight, okay, next, we got you.
Right.
It was just a different ball game. It was a whole different ball game at that point. So, I mean, you're on the board there. When is this meeting that you could pitch this?
Say that again.
When is the next meeting for USA Boxing?
Actually, they're supposed to call me tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but that's another situation because I'm trying to set up the April 27th event, and Golden Gloves are going on, and they want to have the state finals, and but I talked to Tamika. You know who Tamika is. You know which one she is. Yep. And I spoke with her today, and I spoke with Joe today, and they were both on the same page. And Joe actually said, Leo, I've been bringing this up for 15 years. It's not fair. It's not fair to the promoter. It's not fair to the fighter that shows up that everybody's backing out.
Right.
And listen, I don't know if it's nerves or whatever, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. Our fighters don't do it. Our fighters are, hey, we're ready to go, and we're going to do what
well, first of all, I don't think we as coaches have ever backed out as far as we will go.
Right.
So we're going, number one. Number two, we've never asked for money to go. We don't ask for anything. You offer stuff, whether it be food, if people coming from far away, it's they do get a room night, over. but that's for the people to show up to the event. And when we have the main event, fighting someone who's from Ohio, they're gonna come over and they're gonna stay over.
Right. That's normal.
I don't.
And we understand that.
But that's unheard of. People doing that and then they don't show up. That it definitely is an issue that's got to be brought up. It has to be.
It has to be resolved.
Something
has to be done. Hey, listen. Even give the okay. Let's just say somebody backs out the week of the fight. Okay, well you're on 90-day suspension.
Something.
You got to do something.
Because why would you as a promoter put on a show if you're not guaranteed the guy's going to show up? You have someone who's selling tickets, and their opponent doesn't show. Someone's going to be pissed.
Right. I mean, we've spoke to Gene Reed about this. We've spoke to Claudia about this. And those are other guys that put on shows, and they go through the same thing. And they're all in the same. They all agree. Something has to be done.
Well, let's see if we can push that forward a little bit.
Well,
within the next couple.
Problem is they're afraid to say something because they don't want to be blackballed, and I get that. But if you bring something up, and then all of a sudden, now you notice that your fighters are losing even though they won.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I know I get it.
It comes with boxing.
I'll be honest. I learned a lot from me doing what I did. I learned what the fighters go through, and the coaches go through, and it was a really good experience, and that's what I wanted. And the fighters that come to my gym, the boxers, I noticed the change in them by what I was doing. So then I did everything right.
And you felt comfortable?
Oh yeah.
The show was good. I mean,
after I got in the ring, after that first punch, that was it. Like you always said, the first 30 seconds is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And I got in the ring and I still had even though I was in shape, I had a hard time calming down. I was very excited. The thing is my hometown, my venue, I'm fighting. So
if you would have gotten knocked out, good.
Gravy. Yeah, get the cameras ready.
Oh, the camera would have been right there. Now we're pushing forward here to April 27th, I believe. Next show, you're coming in there to be announced who'll be fighting there. But definitely probably one of the largest shows you've ever had.
I hope so.
There's going to be some celebrities there. We know that. Yeah. We're gonna rely on Jersey Jay-Z to bring the celebrities.
That's right. Really, we're relying on the Zapata brand. That's it.
The Zapata brand. Well, Jay-Z with his helmet. I mean, when he shows it, listen, we're going to the Teddy Atlas Foundation dinner tomorrow. Okay.
That's awesome.
He says he's going to show up with the Stormtrooper hat. If he does that, I will walk and I'll leave him there.
Oh my God.
My one chance to get everybody that I want on the podcast, and he's going to blow it by doing some stupid Star Wars thing. I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I know it.
He's hilarious.
He's certainly something else.
That's right great. That's great that Teddy Atlas is invited you guys there.
Unbelievable.
And says he wants to come to the show. That's awesome.
Yeah. He was talking to his Teddy's assistant was talking to my brother, and said that health willing that he'll be here. So and that have you locked that up the 27th?
I should by tomorrow.
So when's the gloves, the tournament? When is that at?
So I called today, and the tournament, they have all of the month of March booked for the tournament. And I said, okay, then the 27th, they were going to have the finals. But listen, you and me know how the finals go because I held them here in Berwick.
What'd you have? Yeah, you had to fill in the show.
Correct. Thank God I had enough boxers to fill in the show, or there wouldn't have been a show. There would have been 4 bouts. And I just don't see
and everything else. It doesn't work,
right? Unless
you're in a place like a Philadelphia, like a Pittsburgh. It just won't work.
Right.
I mean, it didn't even work in Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
Scranton, even when we went, it wasn't. Not that it wasn't packed. I mean, there was more kids that weren't fighting for the title who were there. So it's hard.
Golden Gloves is supposed to be an honor.
They just don't want to do it.
I know.
It's hard,
and I don't understand why.
Neither do I. And that's been a thing for me in the last, I would say, well, since we started training these guys there, you and Rich more so than me, we haven't got to that point where we're comfortable enough to have a Golden Glove champion. Now we had Sophia and Will and Coco go, but as far as going to the state tournament out in Pittsburgh, we haven't yet. No, Sophia just jumped over and went right to the Nationals.
Right.
There was nobody there to fight her.
Right. Oh, she went to the Junior Olympics.
Junior Olympics. That's it. So what do how do you get these kids back in here is just beyond me. I don't know. I can't even, I don't know.
I mean, the skill level, some kids just, their skill level is not quite where it should be, but it's good enough to be an amateur boxer, and they could do 2 fights a year. And that's what I promote, 2 fights a year. So that gives them something to look forward to,
Yeah, but don't you think they should have something where they would, hook their wagon to something and go? I mean, because you see football goes as long as it does.
We need a Northeast Pennsylvania tournament belt championship.
I'm telling you, you should.
Yeah.
Actually, you should. And I'll tell you why, because the kids would go for that.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, the most hits,
you brought it up last year, remember?
I did.
You brought it up. So it's a great idea.
Because here's why. When I was at your event and I was interviewing people for the podcast, I got more subscribers in one night than I ever had because the kids wanted to see themselves on there.
Yeah, that's important.
So,
it makes them feel special.
Market to that situation. I mean, I don't know what's the rule on that. Do you know?
No, you can have one.
Really?
We can do that. That's not a problem.
Let's just start making shit up.
All right.
The Northeast Bagel and Mason Championship belt.
There you go. That's all you gotta do.
Perfect. You are allowed to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why aren't they doing it? That makes no sense not to do it. Makes no sense not to do it.
Well, we should do it. All right. Then, from here on out, we're going to focus on that next.
April 27th, there's going to be a championship, if not 1, 2 on the line that night.
That's right. No, that's what we have to do. I agree 100%.
Do a couple belts, and then if they defend it, they defend it. If they don't, you got 90 days to come back.
We'll give them the real nice Rocky belts.
You give them those ones, and why not?
Yep.
I think that's perfect. I'm telling you what.
I do got to tell you, there was a ton of great compliments about the show. They loved the sit-down dinner. They loved how they were all around the ring. Everybody.
Did they like the referee?
They loved him. They said he looked good up there.
I looked huge. Which, by the way, can you get me that stupid diet? Because I
got it on my desk at the gym.
It's been sitting there for a while.
I know.
I look a mess. I saw that video, and of course, Diz was freeze framing it. I'm a disaster. I'm serious. You lost what, 50 pounds or something like that? I got to lose like 70.
Oh my God.
I got to 70.
Well, you got a fight coming up too.
Allegedly, we're
oh, here we go with the lawyer term.
If we can get that signed and sealed and delivered, we are good to
go.
It's
sealed. It's done. I called him.
Okay, then we're ready to go. We'll make this announcement.
The date. He told me he's saving the date.
And now you sure he's not hunting that day?
No.
Is his girl gonna be fighting too? Hey,
I'd like to get Olivia on did
she lose last weekend? Did she lose last weekend? Did she just lose?
I think she won.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I saw something that didn't say.
And I also think I saw her in the Nationals photo. So with all the other champion. Yeah, with everybody else.
I wonder if she lost because I didn't see anything. It just had a thank you, Sean, like that. And I saw some pictures, but I didn't see anything else. I'd like to ask Sean.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to text him.
Yeah, I got to ask him. See if because I didn't know they were fighting this weekend. And I saw, they were because he was going to come down for the fight.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna come down for the fight. But
yeah, so they fought in Connecticut.
yeah, okay. Well, quickly, Leo, we're gonna bring on our guest because she just popped up.
That's
And,
right.
I'm sure she's gonna say hello to you and find out how the fight went.
She better. I talk to her every day.
Well, we'll see.
All right.
Well, here she is.
Yo,
Maureen Shea.
ah!
Look who I have with me here. I have Leo Talanka.
Hello, Leo.
Hello.
Good
How
to
are you?
see your face. I hear your voice more than I see your face. So. Could it be that Leo's lighting is better than mine?
You know what? He's out in the country, and if it's better than yours, you got to figure that out.
Let's see if I can get I got to clean this screen. I got Derek's texting me, asking me for Friday sparring. Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm in the middle of sending. I'm like, these. I'm like, I sent it to you. I got to send Leo. Leo, you want to see Friday sparring?
Yeah. You always send it.
I know. Derek's. Hi, I'm on a podcast.
Oh my God.
Okay,
that's
bye.
not a landline. Is that a landline? You don't have a landline.
No.
Jesus.
Really big iPhone.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, my God.
Oh my God.
No, I got.
All right.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, we can. I'm sorry. I need to just send this to him real quick. I just got his text that he was like.
Well, now listen. You have fun with George.
Yeah, I'm
gonna stay on.
No, I'm not gonna stay on.
He doesn't want to. I don't know why.
All right, I'll stay on for a little bit.
First of all, he's probably the worst under pressure talking anyone I've ever seen in my life. He is horrible talking. Oh, he's horrible. He's horrible. He can't get a sentence out. Doesn't make sense. And I'm like,
you're gonna take a lesson from me because I don't show up.
Well, I mean,
I told George, I said, all you gotta do is bring up one thing, and she's got it from there.
You know what I've noticed? I've noticed the people who have mostly boxers, the boxers, you ask them a question, they'll go, and you could just sit back.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to know my story. They want to know your story. What the hell do you care about me? I'm a dumb bagel guy. I don't do anything.
Well, Maureen has a great story.
Yeah, which is why we're going to get into it. And see, it's not normal. It is not normal that you say beauty and boxer in the same sentence. This is one of the cases. I used to say it about me, but not anymore. I got married again. I got married, so I can't say that again. Yeah, I did, and well, I passed it along to Leo, and Leo took care of that last week. So, although I tell you, he did look good. He did look good for an old man. I give him credit.
He did. He looked really good.
Looked really good. Yeah, I was surprised.
I was so proud of him. I knew he was working hard, and you could see the change in his body and stuff, but it's the dedication. That's really listen, and I'm not saying that Leo's not talented. There's talent there, but it's like, they say hard work beats talent any day. So, you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, people don't understand that work ethic is like the main component to anything. And that's something that I always prided myself on. I mean, I'm blessed to have talent, but there were years I didn't think I was talented, so I just worked really hard because I actually thought that God was going to take this gift away from me of my boxing. So I was so afraid to like not work hard enough that I probably overworked, but it was because I was so afraid that I was going to lose it because of how I got into boxing and how it came out of nowhere. It's not like I was raised in it,
Yeah. Right. I mean, we all saw the transformation for Leo's body, and mine went the total opposite direction. Holy crap. I said, what the hell did you do? Now I'm have to catch up with him. And man, it went downhill fast. So
George taking pictures. George is like, just shoot it from here up.
From here up. I mean, why would you take a picture of my whole body? Go from like here up is fine, because I could filter the rest of the shit. But if you go down here, it's a mess. It's a disaster, and I got to work. I'm starting to work on it now. But
it's because you make such good bagels.
Well,
that's right.
Here's the problem. I work too damn much, and I'm trying to back off, and hopefully I could get like maybe one subscriber to subscribe to this podcast where I could actually do this as a side gig. Until then, I'm still stuck here working at night. So, I don't have time. I don't have time to do it. And
I'm going to say something. I'm not going to let you make excuses, and I'm going to tell you.
Oh shit! Here we go.
You can fix your diet.
Look, here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Here we go.
The problem is,
ready? Here we go.
No. Here it is. The problem is, Hershey, they put these. All right, they put the pumpkins out right at Halloween, and then before you can get into Thanksgiving, the Christmas trees are out for the Reese's.
So, Maureen,
And then right
George
after that,
Oh,
is addicted.
Reese's.
He's addicted to Reese's peanut butter cups.
You know what? I know a group. I've been part of that group, so I understand. I can
but
completely.
it's a constant. It's like this girl I have here is always pregnant. It's like constant. Like she's always. I don't know anything different than pregnant. I'm like, man, you got to cut it out. You got 5 kids. You got so cut it out. So what happens is you go from Halloween pumpkin Reese's to Christmas trees to hearts. They even have a Super Bowl one. It's a mess. So the only time they give it to you is before the summer, and I can't get in shape before the summer. So I just keep my shirt on and go in the pool with the summer with a shirt on. So I'm that guy. I'm that guy now. But I just
no. Hey, listen. The first part is admitting it's the problem. Is recognizing.
Oh, boy, now I sound like an addict. Jesus.
You
Thanks,
said it,
Maureen.
not me.
Well, you insinuated. Sorry.
Oh my God.
Holy cow! But
Leo knows. You can ask Tor about my honesty, my brutal honesty.
Oh yeah.
Boy, I could tell this is going to go downhill real quick. Then.
Oh, it's gonna go great. Yeah.
No.
But so Maureen, we wanted to get you on a little bit to also give us an idea of where you're at now with your career. I know you had you just had a fight. Mm-hmm. I was here beating the drum to finally get you a title shot here, but where are we at with that? What's going on?
Yeah, so it's been interesting for me. So, before COVID, I was ranked number 1. To be honest, I don't even remember anymore. It was the WBA. Mm-hmm. I was scheduled to fight for the WBA world title. I don't believe there was a champion at the time, so it was an interim belt. I mean, it was a vacant belt at one. Actually, it was 118, and then that got squashed, or maybe it was 122. I don't even remember. There was so much going on. It was anyway. I was ranked number 1 at 118, 122 by different sanctioning bodies, and for whatever reason, the COVID hit. Then that got scratched, and then I had another opportunity, and then that didn't happen, and so I've been kind of like just climbing up this uphill battle, and it's a lot to do with, promotions and how women are promoted in the United States. Matchroom has been promoting the women in England. And I think it's wonderful what Eddie Hearn and Matchroom are doing for the females in England. There's nothing happening for the women in the United States who have put in their time and have paid their dues and should be fighting for these titles. Now, here's the issue. I had a conversation with one of the girls today about this. The Olympics happened, and a lot of these Olympians came with this branding and this backing with them. So the promoters are sitting there saying, well, less work for us. Let's bring these Olympians in. And because that's what they did with boxing too. But with men's boxing, but with men's boxing, they also didn't just have the Olympians, because not everybody was winning the Olympics or even, it could transition to a good pro. Right. But what they did with the women is they brought these women in who either went to the Olympics or had the backing and this amateur pedigree, and they, brought them to the pros, and then they kind of escalated them, in my opinion, at a fast pace. Now, with that being said, I understand that the pool of women's boxing is not as big as the men's. So I understand that some of these women would have to go at a faster pace in certain weight classes. However, my weight class, 122, 118, there were people to fight me to fight. And they didn't because of their amateur pedigree, but I didn't have the opportunity to have an amateur pedigree because I turned pro in 2005. And the women weren't in the Olympics in 2012 or 13. So I had 12 amateur fights because I had to. Otherwise, I was paying for myself to go to Chicago to fight national. I fought 2 national tournaments when I was 1-0 and I went to a national tournament. You know what I mean? Like my second fight was a national tournament against a national champion. And then my next fight too, like I fought 4 national champions. And then I turned pro. So it's not just me. There's other women. My story just may be a little different. And I'm also 42 years old and still in the game and actually better now than I've ever been. I feel better. I'm fitter. I'm stronger. I'm faster. I'm more explosive. My strength coach, Phil DeRue, said it to me the other day. He's like, you're faster now for sure than you've ever been. Mm-hmm. And so, for me right now, it's really just, waiting for the opportunity to come. However, I feel that there may be, people waiting for me to come off a layoff. Because what I see Matchroom had been doing with a lot of these girls is putting them in with women who had long layoffs. They hadn't fought in over a year. They were in no activity. And these girls they were good, but they're inactive. And anybody who knows boxing knows activity is so important. So, I fought coming off a 2.5-year layoff. I fought a top girl, Clis Salgado, who had fought 5 world titles, fought like every weight class. And I actually fought her at her weight class. And I was older than her and on a layoff. So she was active. I was inactive and I dominated her. And then I had another 1.5-year layoff and I fought another girl who, I mean, to be honest, the girl in the Dominican Republic, God bless her for getting in there, but it was ridiculous. Like, I didn't want to fight somebody like that. But why am I going to fight if it's not for a world title? You know what I mean? There was reasons we had this fight ready. We had this fight set. We were already training for this fight. I have my journey. I'm going to fight this fight now. I know Ellie Scottney defended her belt, and that's who I would fight. She defended in September 29th, I think it was. So she's not going to have to defend again until next year. So I'm staying busy because I'm not going to get in there and fight for a world title with inactivity. So I'll fight whoever I got to do to stay busy. And then, so now I have another fight coming up in December. And then, hopefully, I'll get the title shot next year. If not, I'll stay busy again because I'm not just going to sit around and wait. I'm going to stay active. I have to, this is like, I can't just sit around.
And that's supposed to be in Reno, right?
Yeah, right now that's what. Hopefully, well, that's where they're.
Now, are they all tied to one promoter, or do you have? Are you able?
I'm self-promoted. I have never had a promoter.
You're self-promoted.
Yeah, my whole career. Yeah. I fought for every promoter, and they did. Eddie Hearn Matchroom did reach out to me to fight Ellie Scottney. I did sign a contract, and then I was ready to go. I was in camp, and then they never submitted the contract to the IBF. Because I think they had a plan, because Shanika Johnson was the champion who shouldn't have had the title shot either, but she was the champion, but she was out an injury. So they offered me the interim title to fight Ellie Scottney. The IBF mandated that. And then somehow Shanika Johnson seemed to have been okay to fight out of nowhere.
Okay. So let me ask you this, to play devil's advocate. Would it not benefit you to tie yourself to somebody?
Right now, why? When I'm already ranked number 1, so they can take 20% of my purse?
Is that? But what I'm saying is, if they keep bouncing you, see, this is why a national commission is necessary. There's rankings for a reason. Back in the early 90s, Bob Lee was caught, fixing rankings. So Don King's fighters could fight each other. And it was a big mess. He got convicted and whatever. But at this point, it seems to me like they're using the rankings as to say, okay, where do I get the most money? Let me pick her and put you somewhere else. When you're ranked number 1, if you went by what a commission would say is that you're ranked number 1, you fight the champion and you have 90 days to do it, to at least make a contract. Would one of those promoters not bang the drum for you and say, Maureen Shea gets the title shot now? I
mean, I don't know. You'd have to talk to my manager about that, but I think most of it is, the promoters, like I said, I did an interview where the promoters' economics shouldn't dictate the rankings, and that's the truth. And it needs to, and I know that I was like, oh, well, that's what happens. Well, it's not right. And I'm going to stand for what's right. And I'm going to continue to speak on what's right, because why should I give away 20% of my purse? Why? When I did this all myself this whole time.
Right, you did it all on your own.
I got to 31-2 with 13 knockouts. I fought for 4 world titles. I won 2. I got a draw for 1. And I lost another. Why should I give up money to anybody? I did it myself.
You're saying the promoter would take 20?
Yeah.
Okay. And your management team takes a percentage.
Yeah.
Which leaves you,
with 50% of my purse.
Right. And
crap anyway. I don't get paid enough anyway. So it's
not even including taxes. Not even including taxes because you're 1099 employee.
Yeah. Well, I have write-offs like coming out of my ears because I live for this.
I think the Reese's would be a write-off for me if I had to.
Yeah, right. I probably could make it that because it's considered food, right? I could use it as a supplement.
Yeah, I could. A little supplement there. Yeah, a little protein.
They got protein, right? They got protein.
Peanut butter is.
So a lot of people don't know how Maureen got started in boxing. So do you want to share that?
I think we should do that first because I kind of jumped right into it talking about me being a mess.
I kind I tried to segue you in, but you kind of went left, but it's
Oh,
okay.
it went bad. I kind of like my tie. It goes that way every time. But I start off good. You
No,
know,
you're great. You're great.
by 8
Yeah.
o'clock, it's holy cow. The Reese's are right
Give me
there.
one, man.
So, Maureen, if there are people who don't know you, the audience who don't know you, could you please just give us a background of who you are? You know, give us an idea of who Maureen was as a kid, and then work your way up into when you became a fighter.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in the Bronx. You know, my mom's Mexican, my dad's Irish.
I got
And
you. I just put you on the. I put you on the screen.
I'm like, where'd everybody go?
No, it's easier for me to cut it up that way. Go ahead.
I like to look at you though, but I get it. It's okay.
All right.
No,
What do we do?
I was, you know, born, my mom's Mexican, my dad's Irish. I spent a lot of time in Mexico. I speak fluent Spanish. It actually was my first language. So I was very fortunate to have been experienced two cultures, you know, with being Mexican and American. And obviously the Irish in the Bronx was a very prominent culture as well, with the St. Patty's Day parades and everything. And my father's family being really in the Bronx, my mom's family being in Mexico. I have a brother who's 10 years older than me, who, to be honest, it wasn't until I moved to Florida now that we actually have a relationship. He moved out when I was 14, so he really didn't know me. And we're very different. He's a lot calmer. He's a lot more patient. And I was like this like firecracker since I was a kid with all this energy. And he'd look at my mom like, I don't like, what is wrong with her? Because I would do laps after dinner. Like my mom would just let me run around like a lunatic. She would go to the track in Pelham Bay Park in the Bronx and run the track, and I'd run back and forth and I'd do sit-ups, and she had to stop me one time. She thought I was going to pass out. So apparently I had more energy than I do now then. So I couldn't imagine what a handful I was. But, you know, for me, they put me in every sport. So I played softball, I played basketball, I played soccer, I swam, but nothing ever really stuck. I played 2 instruments. I mean, I guess that was probably the thing, because I liked to compete, but I played a fife, which is a woodwind instrument, and I competed and I won my individuals. So I think that was like a sign. So for any parents listening, like put your kid in team sports, and if they don't thrive in team sports, they thrive in like single things. Like they're better in single sports. So I definitely was better doing single things and competing with myself rather than others, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so,
One
like,
question. What was that instrument you played?
so I was in a colonial marching band when I was my uncle was in charge of the band.
Okay.
It's called a fife, so it's a woodwind instrument.
Okay.
I was in band camp.
I never heard of that. I'm like, oh, what?
I actually have one here. I still play. I can play. I mean, it's very, if it's not in like harmonized, like if you're not playing with like a quartet or like a duet, it's a little shrieky. So my neighbors would probably freak out. But
Okay.
I still kind of play a little bit. I remember I learned how to read and write music, and I loved it. But it was kind of like, it really helped me a lot with my discipline, because it was a military marching band. So it was very military. But anyway, so yeah, so like I played a lot of different things. But like I said, I liked the one-on-one competition with one other person. And it was really like, it became me against me. Because when you're on a field or on a court with a bunch of other people, it's hard to really put the focus on you. But it's when just you and one other person, it's a lot easier. You know, I mean, it's a lot more about me, I felt. Right. So that's why I really gravitated more towards those individualistic sports. However, growing up in the Bronx and getting kicked out of high school and doing things I shouldn't have been doing and not wanting to do what I was told and do what I wanted. I got kicked out of high school my junior year. I went to public school, and, you know, I hung out in the street. I really wasn't like part of a clique. I went to an all-girl Catholic school, and I think the nuns there didn't really like my leadership. I think they felt like there was a threat there, because there was really no reason to kick me out, because I failed an AP class. So it was just crazy stuff. But I ended up, you know, graduating from Lehman High School. I'm proud of that. I had a great public school education. And Preston High School, where I get kicked out of, that's where Jennifer Lopez actually graduated from. And I got a good education there. But long story short, I ended up in an abusive relationship when I was 17 years old. And it was just hanging out with the wrong people. But I met this person. He became my best friend. He really was. But unfortunately, he wasn't well, and he was doing steroids, but like steroids to the degree that they were affecting his brain. And he was having like roid rages and things. And he hit me. I got punched in my face. He cut my eyebrow. And then I had 8 stitches above my eyebrow. And then he almost strangled me to death with the roid rages. But I understand the mind of an abused woman is that of, but that's not him. He'll change. No, he loves me. He's just mad. I did something wrong. Like anybody who knows domestic violence has been involved in it or knows somebody that is, these are usually the words that come out of their mouth. And that's what was coming out of my mouth to myself because I hid it from everybody else. And if anybody knew anything, I'd make an excuse. But really, people didn't know. Like my eyebrow, when I had the stitches, I said that me and him were playing softball and I had my sunglasses on and he threw the ball. I missed it and it cut my sunglasses. The sunglass broke and it cut me.
Now, did you believe that he would change?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
during that time, because he was he was sick too. And this is where people don't understand. Like I learned to forgive because he wasn't well either. So what I don't know now. I mean, he's fine. I mean, I think I know that he's married with children and I pray that he's okay, that he's not doing this to her, and he's grown and learned. And, I was probably part of that lesson, but he was part of my lesson and look at where it brought me, and I know, and I had to look at it that way because otherwise I wouldn't heal because I would be holding on to the baggage of what was done to me instead of saying, no, this was done because of choices that I made and how could I have made better choices? Not to say that it's my fault. It wasn't my fault, but I could have asked for help. I could have, and why didn't I? So I had to dig deep into my psyche through therapy to understand why did I feel like this was okay? And what I came to was that I was attracted to emotionally unavailable men. So if I look at my track record, and that's pretty much what it had been, even after him, they weren't abusive, but they were emotionally unavailable. And I'm like, why? So then when I look back at my upbringing with my father was an amazing human being, an amazing provider, but my father lacked emotional connection. So that's where I feel I'm not blaming my dad. It was just a product of my environment and a little bit of those daddy issues, which every girl and boy has them, mommy and daddy issues. We all got them. It's just recognizing what they are and then breaking the cycle. I never saw abuse in my life. My mother never got hit by my father. My mother never hit my dad or yelled at him or threw anything, or my brother, same thing. I didn't grow up with that. I didn't even grow up around divorce. I didn't know anything about that. My parents were married until the day my father died, which was 2 years ago. And they were together since they were 16 and 18. So, all this stuff was very, very new for me, but I knew that there was something going on. So when I say that, because I want people to understand that domestic violence isn't a cultural thing. It's not a financial thing. It's not a gender thing. It happens to anybody, but you have to figure out, because even if you come from an amazing, loving family that never had violence, I mean, is it more likely that if you come from a violent family, they say statistically, yes, but I didn't. So why did it happen? I had to figure that out for myself, for my own healing, which I did. And, it was really through boxing that I learned a lot about myself and a lot about my healing. I went to the gym to actually better myself from my abuser because I had very low self-esteem. And I thought, well, if I fix me, he won't hit me, or he'll be nicer, or he'll want me, because he didn't want me. And I wanted to make him want me because I didn't understand why was I broken? Why I needed his acceptance and I needed him to validate me because of my weakness. So I went to the gym and I started working out, and then I walked into the back and there was a boxing gym. And I remember Willie Soto, he came up to me. He was the coach back there. And he said to me in English, do you want to try? And I looked at him and I said, how am I going to connect with these men? So I started speaking to him in Spanish because I knew he spoke Spanish. So he was like, how do you speak Spanish? I was like, oh, well, I'm Mexican. And he goes, you're Mexican? I said, well, I'm Mexican Irish. Well, little did I know that that's like a boxing coach's dream, cultures to have. So I was like, okay. He was like, you're going to be a world champion. I'm like, I have no idea what that means, but okay. I didn't even want to fight. I just wanted to go in there and learn how to hit something, and listen, when I was younger, I had misplaced rage. I broke things in my house. I was just so angry. I got locked in my room. I slammed my door. My dad took the door off the hinges. Then I stood there in my underwear and my bra, and he's like, put your clothes on. I'm like, put my door back on. I was that kid. Okay. Just to give you an idea. I was that kid.
But no violence as far as fighting with girls in the street or anything like that.
I mean, listen, in my neighborhood, oh yeah, I wasn't violent. Like I wasn't like looking for fights, but I'll fight you. Like I wasn't afraid. I really wasn't afraid of anything. So like, yeah, I got into fights, over guys. And I was like, girls talked, they talked crap. And then if you don't stick up for yourself, they're going to keep doing it. So like I had an incident where these girls were running. They were like looking for me, chasing me in a car. and I had my car, but I was like in heels or something like that. And I had to go home and change. And then I went looking for them because I'm like, okay, well, they're going to find me. You guys, this is the Bronx. You got to stand up for yourself. So I did. And I remember we fought right in front of Boston Market on East Tremont Avenue and Bruckner Boulevard.
What was the verdict?
Huh?
What was the verdict on that one? Probably not good.
Well, I got jumped. Actually, I got on top of the girl. She mushed my face. I punched her in her face. I blacked out. I remember I'm on top of her. I don't know what I was doing. And I remember one girl kicked me in my back, and then my friends jumped out of the car because it was 1D, because we didn't do that back then. But her friends jumped in and kicked me. My friends came and everybody broke it up. And I just stood back. I must have been beating the shit out of her because apparently it took people to come in. I mean, I blacked out. That was the dangerous part. I did that twice. I blacked out twice in fights. Okay. I broke a girl's nose one time. I don't remember. And I'm like, okay, this is dangerous. Somebody's going to, it was bad. So
you don't want that.
But these girls started with me. I didn't look for this. Like, I remember one girl, she lied to me. My boyfriend cheated on me, the abusive one. And I caught him and I caught her. And like woman to woman, I looked at her. I said, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. And I asked her, I said, are you with him? And then she's like, no. I said, okay, you're lying. I'm going to ask you one more time. Don't lie to me. She lied. So I punched her in the face.
Good logic.
I mean, right?
I mean,
I gave her a second chance.
You got a 2 chance. Yeah, 2 strikes, you're out there. Evidently with Maureen Shea. But
I definitely would have had a conversation with her about it. I would have. I was pretty logical.
Okay, so at that point, when you get into the boxing gym,
yeah,
you're still in this relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as I'm sure the boxing gave you confidence.
Yes.
You're starting to get a camaraderie with the people in the gym.
Yes.
Right. So are you starting to stray away from that abusive relationship, or are you saying now I'm going to go? Now you're in deeper.
So no. So now I try to pull away, and now he's wondering why, because now there's a change in me that he's seeing. And so at one point, Luis Rosado, who was he fought Kermit Cintron, he fought
wow.
Remember Vince Petway?
Yeah.
This is a long time ago. This is in the 90s, like the late 90s. Yeah, so he fought Vince Petway. Yeah, Lewis he beat Vince Petway. He fought him in Maryland. Yeah, and I was at that fight actually. But Lewis was still to this day, love him to death. God bless him. He has a beautiful family now. But he was a really good friend of mine, and he became like a brother, very protective of me. And I told him my boyfriend was a little off, and he would like walk me to my car to make sure I was okay, because I think he was kind of coming around stalking me. He had stalked me at my job and stuff like that in my college. So I was a little bit, hesitant, but this is the first person that I told I need help to. And so he would walk me to my car. And then one time I think my ex saw him and followed him and actually stopped him on the freeway and like told him like to stay away from me. And if he he'll never, if he ever wants to box again, that he'll break his hands and things like that. And Lewis could tell you the story. It was like he stopped him literally on the Hutchinson River Parkway. Like it was dangerous. This individual became very dangerous. Like it was just to a point where I knew he wasn't well, but it got to the point where like I was afraid to live. Like I was afraid to live in my neighborhood. And I was like, what? I didn't think it was going to be this bad. You know what I mean? Like I thought once I let go of him, he wouldn't want me anymore, but he wanted me more. And then that's when the stalking started. And that's when I had to file the restraining order against him. And Okay. So it helped me. It definitely, the gym definitely helped me, but it gave me the confidence and strength. I met my manager. I met Luigi, who was actually the only, because that gym, listen, I love that gym. Willie was wonderful, but Willie didn't really have the time to take me to where I wanted to go, which I didn't know where I wanted to go or take me to where everybody else thought I could go. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going to I left that gym, and Lewis was trying to help me find a new coach. And he took me to 2 other gyms. And one guy told me I had already been training for about 6 months, and I'd been sparring already, or 7 months. Right. This guy told me that I had to work the floor for a year before I could even get in the ring to spar. And Lewis was like, no, I've seen this girl move around. She's got to learn. Somebody's got to coach her. So we left that gym. And then we went to Morris Park Boxing, and they didn't even let me in. Is actually one of the guys there, Jim Borzell, who ended up ironically matchmaking my fights 5 years later. Jim came to the door and wouldn't even let me in. He was like, you don't look like a fighter. We don't have anything for you here.
Well, is that where Superman Davis was?
Huh?
Is that where Aaron Superman Davis was? The more
Aaron, I know Aaron. Aaron knows me too. Yeah. And so so Aaron's great. Aaron had a gym down there too years ago.
It burned down. I heard it burned down. Yeah,
Oh,
I heard it
wow.
burned down. He was living in the basement there for a while at the
Oh,
gym.
wow. Yeah, I had gone to the gym, and I know a couple guys that were training over there. Actually, my best friend from grammar school's nephew was training with Aaron.
Mhm.
But anyway, so I went there, and then they closed the door on my face. And then the last gym that we were going to go to was in Yonkers. So mind you, we'd gone from Upper Westchester to the Bronx. Now we're going up to Yonkers. So we went, and I told Lewis, I said, I don't even want to get out of the car, because if somebody else tells me no, I'm going to be so mad, because I wanted it so bad. And I think I wanted it more because people said no. So he went into the gym, and he spoke to the owner, and then he came out and he said, listen, the guy says that they know you. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, so he said, give this guy a call, and he gave me a business card. I went home, and it was AOL. So I, remember AOL with the, you could sign on, look at the name. So I logged in, and I said, I wonder if he's online, because I was going to send the email, and I looked online. He was online. So I emailed him. I messaged him on Messenger, and I just said, hey, so-and-so told me to contact you. I'm interested in training. And he said, oh, I know you. He said, I met you at Omni, which was the gym that I was training at with Willie. And I was like, and then I remembered he's the one that had these two females there. They were heavyweights, these two female heavyweights. And I was like, oh, wow, there's girls here. But they didn't like train at the gym. They were just coming by. And I couldn't, move around with them because they were so big. But I was like, oh, wow, this guy just trains women. And it was Luigi. And then I said, oh, okay. And he said, when do you want to start? I said, tomorrow. So he told me the address. I remember I was late, and I was so nervous because my dad said, when you're on time, you're late. So I wanted to get there early, but I got lost. I was so afraid to like make him not want to train me because everybody else shut the door in my face. I was like, he's going to look for an excuse not to work with me. And so when I got there, I remember walking in. I remember exactly what he was wearing, what he was doing. He was drinking a cup of coffee with he was a champion, a light gray champion sweater with these like windbreaker pants that were blue and red, holding a cup of coffee. And he turned around, he looked at me, and I knew I was home. Like I literally knew from that moment on that this was where I was supposed to be. And he's now, I was 21. I think I was 20 or 21. That was 1999, 2000. And now he's my manager. So
wow, it's amazing how the
years later.
I mean, it's amazing how everything twists and turns. And so when you feel comfortable,
George, my whole life in boxing has been that.
It's like you go to get to this point here. It's like you have to go through this whole big thing until getting to the point where you feel comfortable in the spot you're at.
But like I feel like honestly, and God is my higher power, and I feel like a lot of stuff is already written for me because there's too much there's too much in my life that just brings me back to like I'll give you a quick for example. So in 2007, I want to say I fought in Reno, Nevada. So the first fight that I ever saw, I was 15 years old. First boxing fight I ever saw. After that, didn't see nothing till I walked into that gym. First fight I ever saw was when Tyson bit Holyfield's ear. And I was so attracted to Tyson's rage because I connected with it. And I was blown away. I was at a friend's house upstate, and his dad was having a fight party. And I remember we were in the kitchen. We weren't even watching the fights. Everybody went crazy in the living room. I ran in. I was like, what is this? I remember I was sitting on this giant futon. I was just mesmerized by why this guy just bit his ear. And he was allowed to hit him with gloves on, and it was legal. And I was like, and there was skill involved. Like, it blew me away. And so after that, I had never seen it again until I walked into the gym. Now, fast forward 2007, I'm fighting in Reno, Nevada on the 10-year anniversary to the day that Tyson bit Holyfield's ear. And who is the promoter? Let's Get It On Promotions. Judge Mills Lane was the ref for that fight. And I was fighting on his sons became boxing promoters, Tommy and Terry. And I was fighting on that card.
That's unbelievable. And I think you're right with that.
Coincidental.
Because getting to where you get to it takes so much, and normal people, you could kind of see what the person's made out of because obstacle after obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. I do it here in my business. Leo does it in his business. You do it in your life. Yeah. You have to. It's the people that are successful are the ones that'll take what they have in front of them and say, okay, I'm going to use that as a building block for this foundation. I'm not going to take it and be like, well, I'm done, because then that's why most businesses fail 5 years, because when something happens, and also third generations, because that's not their baby. The kids don't care. They don't care that
it's handed down.
Yeah, they don't care that you slept on.
You want to hear something crazy? This is like a side note. I just met an individual who started training with Phil, with my strength and conditioning coach. And Phil takes on, he's very specific with the clientele that he takes on because he's very busy and he charges, a lot an hour. But he took this guy on, and this guy shared with me. It's funny. Phil told me, he's like, I send everybody in the room just to talk to you, right? Because I know that you're just going to talk to them and they're good. You're going to have connection because you connect with people. So I end up getting all these interesting stories. So this guy's family owned a Honda dealership, and they sold the company to the employees.
Wow.
Where do you hear that? They didn't want it to be in the family because it wasn't going to be appreciated.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to just leave it to the next person who didn't care. So they sold it to the employees.
It's not.
And those people help build the business.
And it's not so much that they don't care. It's like Maureen,
it's not they don't care, but they kind of don't. Like, it's like, okay, what do I do? Who's going to appreciate it?
Exactly. Nobody saw Maureen Shea sleeping on the couch, when minimal eating, you're training in the morning, getting up at 3 a.m, doing your running. No one sees that. As similar to nobody sees when, Leo, when he was building his home, he worked in the city, came home, built it on the weekends, did that for years. So, if he gave it to, I don't know, Leo, no knock on your kids or anything, but if he gave it to your kid, like if I gave my business to my kid, that thing would be gone in 2 years because it's your baby.
It wasn't his blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly.
But you help build your son's house. So, he built his house. So now he's got his thing.
Good point. So,
Maureen saw.
I know it all.
You know way more than I do. Then.
Well, I was there. I saw the house when it was being built.
Oh yeah, that's right. How the hell do I know this stuff? But you going through those obstacles had to have helped you not only just in boxing but outside, whether it be relationships.
George, it was my whole life was the obstacles. My father always said, Maureen does things the hard way. She does things her way. And I think
that's not wrong.
No, but I think that's how it had to be, and I mean, sure, I could have listened, like you could give me advice and I can listen, but if I want to learn it my way, which is normally what I did, I mean, I take people's advice and then I weigh it out and I'm like, all right, is this something I need to learn by doing it myself and figuring it out? Or is this something that I could take that person's advice and, and I think as you get older and you're mature and you've gone through these things, now I'm like, all right, I know the advice because this is going to hurt if I figure it out my way. And I'm not in a place now that I want to get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like financially, emotionally, physically, whatever, I have to be smarter with my choices, but, a lot of it's helped me, but I think it's also the insight that I've had and the people that I've put myself around, the choices that I've made later on. But, when I first started boxing, my father told me in this house, you have to go to school and work. You can't do all three. So I think for people need to discover their why, and they need to understand everybody has to have a why. You can't just get up every day and do what you do with no why. If you do, you're a robot, Okay. So your why could be anything, but I had to read.
What I could tell you is I've known Maureen, 5 years?
Yeah. Before COVID, we met.
Yep.
She is a go-getter. Nobody's going to tell her she can't do anything.
Yeah.
And she doesn't depend on anybody else but herself.
Yeah. My dad taught me that.
And I mean that. I mean, like me and Tor know. Because this is her path. This is the way it goes. She's not worried about anything. All she's worried about is, okay, I got to have this amount of money. I need this. I got to have this. And it all, she's going to get to the end result.
Yeah.
It's the structure. It's the structure. And, I don't think when I was younger, I lived a little bit more wild, but I've learned how to take calculated risks.
I wasn't that way.
Oh, really?
No. I
think that's why we related a lot. And now I'm like, am I, because sometimes I call Leo, I'm like, am I crazy? He's like, yeah, but what's up?
Now, Leo, I know you have to go.
I'm going.
You're going to go. But is there anything else you have to say to my audience? Goodbye.
Maybe not. Tor was like,
no, I cut him off. I do it all the time. Every time I call him, I just hang up on him.
You're terrible. He's great.
But
No,
anyway,
Leo's
no,
but see,
no.
Leo is another person that God has brought into my life.
Mhm.
Like, I can't tell you how, like, he's such a good friend. And it's true that when you say you can know people forever, but the people that, when I met him, he's just a genuine, well, genuine, but you too, genuine
Yeah.
salt of the earth people. You know what I'm saying? Like, that I met, and I'm just like, wow, like, because I'm the same way.
It's almost like these people are brought into your life. Like I remember when I first met Leo, he had a horrible mustache, like a Hulk Hogan mustache, and that's how we connected. I started making fun of him, and we just connected that way because he had the same sense of
When did
humor as
you
me.
meet him?
I met him.
After COVID?
No. I met
Oh, I was
him.
like, you said a COVID mustache. I was like,
No,
oh,
a Hulk Hogan mustache.
Hulk Hogan. I think he said a
Yeah,
COVID
no,
mustache.
COVID mustache. What the hell? Well, yeah, and I met him, and I used to make fun of him because I'm like, that is just stupid look. I said, you got to do
Probably
something
looked
with
like
that.
a 70s porn star, right?
He did, and he had the parachute pants. He looked terrible. So he was building a school somewhere, and I just happened to see him, and we connected. We didn't realize we were in the same area, but
Oh.
doing that and finding the right path that you went from going out of that abusive relationship into the boxing, trying to get out of it, and then now you're back. Then you're back on track with your boxing. Where do you see yourself in 5 years now? From when you started boxing?
Definitely not.
No. I'm saying back then. Where did you see yourself in 5 years? So when you're out of the relationship, you're saying, "I'm turning pro."
You know what? I lived for the day. I lived for the moment. I didn't think about becoming a world champion. I didn't think about becoming pro. I just said, okay, I did one step at a time because I was in such a broken place that I was just like, I was like, okay, what's next? Because I was so unaware and of myself and unsure of myself. And really, that's it. I was so unsure of myself that I literally took it like, okay, what's next? What's next? And then, I dealt with depression. I dealt with I was clinically depressed. I had seasonal affective disorder. I was misdiagnosed when I was 14. There's other battles I fought. I was misdiagnosed at 14 with bipolar disorder, and I was put on lithium, and then I was put on Depakote, and then they diagnosed me with seasonal affective disorder. I was put on Lamictal, Topamax, Prozac. I mean, I could go down the right. And then I realized like I needed consistent sunlight. I tried light therapy. I ended up moving to California, getting off all the medication and realizing like, oh, wow, like I'm okay. Like I think, and I don't think it was just the move to California, the consistent sunlight. It was the amount of therapy and work that I did to understand how to work through my depression. I still have it. Like when the weather gets like it is here in Florida right now, it's like super dreary and cold and rainy. I definitely have a hard time. I definitely get like, but I know I need to get up and get out. I know, because that's how I worked through my depression. It was like taking it a day at a time. And depression is like you're either living in the past or living in the present. Living in the future. You're not living in the present. And I think for myself, like every time I went like this, I'd come back to being present, saying, okay, what's next? Because living in the future creates anxiety, and living in the past creates depression. And so even now I'm sitting back and I'm like, you know what? Are we fighting in December? I think so. I'm getting ready for it. Could it happen? Yeah, it could not happen. I've had fights get canceled at the weigh-in. People ask me, are you excited? I said, no, I don't get excited till I'm walking to the ring. And I don't really get excited. I get up. I'm always up for it because listen, every day, and this is where the discipline comes in and the self-motivation comes in. Because there's days that I go to the gym and I'm like, I don't want to be here. It's literally like once in a blue moon because I love so much what I do for work, for my actual income, and for my training. Like I love it so much that when those days come, I'm like, okay, you don't have to do this. You get to do this. And I got to have those conversations with myself. Like, do you realize how fortunate you are? You remember where you were. Remember how far you've come. And you're going to complain and bitch right now about doing this, then go home. Like I literally am my own parent in those moments. And, there was a coach I had that I won my 2 world titles with, Joseph Janik in California. And I'll never forget, I came into the gym with my backpack and I was all like all upset. And I was like, oh, it's not fair. This isn't fair. That's not fair. And he's like, okay, well, you don't have to be here. You can leave. This is a choice. And I was like, okay. And then I went into the gym. And that has stuck with me every single day. Every time I start complaining and I get like a little bitter, I'm like, You don't have to be here. I hear Haas's voice.
And there's times you need that. There's times you need that.
But he's another coach. He's an amazing coach, and I've been fortunate to work with I had terrific guests who trained Kendall Holt, who now trains Shadesha Green, who's fighting Franchon Cruz for the title here in Orlando next month. You know, I was Terrific's first, his female champion. I won the NABF title with him, and I love him to death. And he gave me so much. You know, I work with I work with Tommy Brooks, you know, I work with Hector Roca, work with a lot of great coaches. Now Derek Santos, you know, who's worked with a ton of great fighters. I'm very fortunate. And I think that's there's a humility about it. But I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, you've accomplished so much. You're so humble. I'm like, why wouldn't I be humble? Like, do you know what I've been through to get to where I am? I'm grateful.
Let me ask you a question, and touching on that depression a little bit. Statistics say boxers, when they get hit, you know, the frontal portion of their brain lobe that controls a little bit of depression. Do you ever worry about that?
I think about it. I can't say that I worry about it because I have to give that to God.
I guess worry was the wrong.
Yeah, I mean, no, but I can see how people can worry about it. But I can't worry about it because I do it. And if I worried about it, then I probably shouldn't be doing it. But I think about it. But I believe that my defense is better than most. And I'm very defense oriented. And I make sure that my defense is my main thing. So I don't punch. I don't work off my hand. It's funny. Derek and I were talking the other day. He's like, you know, I was out for a little bit and I just came back to sparring. And the only way you get in sparring shape is by sparring. You can't run your way into sparring shape. You know that. You can't hit the bag to get in sparring shape. You have to spar. Yep. So my timing and my rhythm was off, which is to be expected. And Derek kept telling me, you have to find your timing with your jab. And I said, see, that's not how I find my timing. I find my timing through my rhythm of my feet. So once my feet start moving, then I start rhythm, my upper body starts moving. Then my punches come. That's when I get my timing off my rhythm. And so he was like, because most fighters get their timing off their jab. I'm different. Even when somebody's jabbing at me, I'll get my timing and my rhythm off their jab. And then I'll bring mine. And I'm not a counter puncher. I'm a boxer puncher, but it's my feet, you know? So that's a little, you know, that's different. It's different than some, but,
and I could see when you're moving, when you're in a real good rhythm, I can always tell. When I look at the training, you can move, and people are missing their punches, and you're coming back, and then you're in and you're out. It's almost like a dance with you.
Yeah. And that's what it is.
And it creates the good rhythm that you're going to need against someone who. And you get in, and it's also you're getting in shape at the same time. You get the rhythm down.
Like my style, and that's the thing. Like going back to your question about the punches. So, am I going to get hit? Yeah. Am I trying to lower the percentages of me getting hit by moving? Yes. So, you know, when it comes to, I believe that I have the tools now to deal with depression when it comes, or if it comes. I also am in therapy, and I have an amazing support system around me. And, you know, I get my head checked, literally, you know, and I make sure that I'm okay, but that's a risk that I'm willing to take because of what I'm trying to, you know, what I want to achieve for myself. But back to the movement. So I dance salsa. So I always danced. I always had really good rhythm, but I never danced like traditional salsa. So I was trained by a salsa coach, and I worked salsa, bachata, merengue. And by training for a good 8 months doing that, and making it a part of my life, I made my boxing even better.
You know what I like about you there? You showed your vulnerability, saying that you're in therapy, you know, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And that's key to people who are going through that. And I know you speak a lot to people, and they try to hide it. Even guys more than girls. But
yeah, listen, you guys got it rough. I say it, and especially your generation. I mean, you're like we're not far from the same generation. And it's like back then, I mean, now I think guys are a little more like, oh, I got issues. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, we don't got to get on that, but you know what I'm talking about.
I get it.
Guys my age, like 40, even 35 and up, it's a little harder for them. You know, it's to be vulnerable and to admit, because you were raised in a different time.
It's definitely a different time. And to see people that are actually speaking about it, to giving you the option to say, hey, maybe, because I think about how many people have gone through it and didn't do anything about it. That could have been better. That could have been actually
my
done.
dad, listen, my dad, and you know, and I've shared this with people. So my dad was bipolar. That's why they diagnosed me bipolar. That's why my father was essentially emotionally unavailable for me. He wasn't violent, but he just was emotionally unavailable. So like, I think about my dad was an NYPD detective. You think they had cops in therapy back then? No. My father went through a lot. He saw things he should not have
That's what I
seen.
was gonna say.
And he had no outlet. And that's why I think it's so important, especially for veterans, you know, for police, for fire department, for any first responders. You know, the things they see is not what a normal person sees. And I believe that my father may have had an underlying, you know, bipolar, but I think it was triggered by things that he saw. And that's a big reason why everybody wanted me to become a cop. My dad, my godfather, they're all cops. My manager, he was a cop. He's retired. Everybody was like, become a cop. NYPD, you could be on their boxing team, this whole thing. I literally was so afraid to become a cop because I was so afraid. I'm so much like my dad that I was afraid that I was going to become bipolar. Like, that's why I didn't become a cop. That's the truth.
Now, he was never diagnosed, right?
He was diagnosed when he was 42.
What? Oh, at 42. Wow. And so
he retired. Then he retired.
You know that? See, that right there opens that door.
Okay? And I'm 42 now.
Oh, geez. But you know, that kind of opens the door for your past as to where you were saying that. And again, going back to how you got into the boxing, being in that kind of emotional relationship, what have you, it really, and you didn't blame your dad, but there was the piece, if you could have identified that earlier, you know, you could have been out of it quicker.
My parents had me in therapy when I was younger because I had anger. So that's why they diagnosed me bipolar, because like, oh, well, her dad's bipolar, so she's bipolar. So I was in therapy, but I was in therapy because I used to slam my head against the wall. So when I couldn't it was just crazy because I couldn't verbalize my feelings, which now I'm like really good at it. Because
I do that now, but it's when I'm arguing with my wife.
But actually, it was even when I was younger. I think I slammed my head on the floor, and then when a child is frustrated, or I hit myself because I couldn't speak. I didn't know how to process my emotions. And I think that was from a little bit of depression, maybe some ADHD, which I do have as well. So it was like a couple things, but I think everybody has levels of ADD, ADHD. I was medicated. I don't need no medication. I read a book about called Fast Minds, and I listened to a podcast called Faster Than Normal Podcast. And they said, when you have ADHD, it's like you have a Ferrari engine. And if you take medication, it's like you have a Ferrari engine and a Honda. So instead, learn to drive the Ferrari and the Ferrari engine by understanding your condition and using it to better you and make you different and make you, it's great for entrepreneurs. Like they say a lot.
That's actually very good. That's actually a very good analogy, because I now that I think about that, because I remember when I took
Adderall
it was Razapam.
Okay.
It was for depression, and if you can't stop it cold turkey, because you have these brain zaps, and it makes it like your brain ain't connecting. It's the most annoying. So then you're back on it. You're back on it. And then one day I just stopped. And it was the most painful.
But it was the best thing you ever did.
It was.
You had to go through the withdrawal. It's horrible.
It was bad. It was really bad.
What was the withdrawal effects of that?
Well, the brain zaps was horrible. I was in pain. Like that. But what I would do is then I would take Tylenol PM to go to bed, which was the absolute worst possible thing. And because then you wake up, you have medicine head. You don't want to do anything. It leads to the fog. And to be honest with you, there was times I didn't even want to shower.
Oh no, I know. I've been there. I didn't shower for like 4 days at one point.
I'm like, what am I doing?
Because you're numb. You're so numb.
There was so much shit going on that you don't realize. You got to get better. You're in this fire, blazing inferno, and thinking the whole house is coming down, but there's people on the outside there with hoses and everything. You just don't think that that's what it is. You keep it inside, and you're just like, no, I'll figure it out. I'll start blowing the flames out with my, like that. And they got the hoses out there to take care of it, but you're not reaching out for the help. And that's what I went through. I went through it for 3 years, and I sat there, and Leo helped me out, and I went through a horrible divorce. And it was just like to be honest with you, I don't blame her for leaving me. You know,
No,
I don't at that point.
Yeah.
You know, because like your dad was not there for you emotionally. I wasn't there for my wife and my kids. You know, and a woman needs that. And a woman needs that. I'm 100% for that.
You know, but for you to admit that, but it makes you better now. Like, okay, what happened happened, but that's in the past. Now, what can you do to better your future and going forward? And now your future, your new wife, or and your family. Like, that takes a lot of strength, though, to be able to admit
a lot different now. I think my wife is older, so she's more mature. That obviously more mature than me. But
no, I'm just
she'd gone.
I think she beats you now. I'm just kidding.
Bad joke. But she had gone through, her husband passed away very young, 40, 49, 50 years old.
Wow.
We kind of just met at COVID, and it just here we are 3.5 years later.
Wow.
I never knew her. Yeah, I never knew her. We just got married. We got married at the bagel shop here, and we just because we didn't.
But look at the way the world, the road, and look at like me, like everything happened. But look at, we're still doing this, even though we do this and this, we're still doing this.
It's funny. I was talking. Yeah, and I was talking to Ray Mancini today, and a wild podcast, but wild. I'll tell you what happened.
Boom, boom.
Oh, he's great.
He commentated one of my fights, and we own a percentage of the tequila company together.
Yeah, we talked about that today. What he was saying is, his dad always said when he was fighting, he said, you got 3 things you can do when you're getting hit. You can move forward, you can move back, you can move forward, move backwards, or stay stagnant. 2 of the 3 are bad. Staying stagnant and moving backwards.
Oh,
you got to move forward. He said it's very important.
Yeah.
And it's something that Leo teaches the kids. Even you'd be surprised how many times the kids come to Leo to ask him, hey, because Leo's been through this grind. Yeah. And they ask him, like, Coach, what would you do in this situation?
He's very nurturing, and he's very non-judgmental, and he's very easy to talk to.
And my kid loves him because he had this bond with my kid. And I'm just dad. I'm just dad. Like, if your dad was showing you how to box, but Derek came in and said, hey, you're going to listen to Derek as opposed to your dad. Let's just say your dad had 2 world titles. Yeah. It doesn't matter. He's just dad. You know what I mean? So Leo stepped in and was like that guy, which, like you're saying, going back to the people that surround you, you're a perfect example. You went from where you were, anger issues, depression, battling all this stuff, domestic violence, and now look where you're at now.
Yeah, I'm so much peace, and but that's because of God's grace and because of my faith, and I love today. I had an amazing church family in California, and then I was rebaptized in California as an adult, where I really understood my relationship with the Lord and I've always accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, but it was just this new relationship that I was walking with the Lord. And then I moved out here and I realized that's what was missing. And I said, God has gotten me through all of it, because it wasn't just me. Like, God had a plan for my life, and Jeremiah 29:11 is my life verse, because I have it on my bracelet right here. I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. It's just the beginning of it. And it's a reminder for me that, like, no matter what happens, he has a plan for your life. Because there was a point in my life where I thought I was shit, and I was suicidal. I was, I actually almost committed suicide twice. My mother saved me. And, I was very grateful, because I knew I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live. And I can't explain that. I mean, you probably understand because of depression. Yeah. But some people that never been through it are like, what does that mean? I'm like, if I walked outside and I got hit by a bus, I wouldn't care, but I wouldn't necessarily jump in front of the bus. And it was hard for me to explain that, because I was afraid, because I didn't want people thinking I was going to go hurt myself. But I also, I didn't want to be committed, but I also wanted people to know that I didn't feel like I wanted to live in the state that I was living. So, I prayed a lot, and I say the serenity prayer. I don't know if anybody knows that. You should look it up. It's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Mm-hmm. So it really helps you to understand that, you can't do it on your own. There's got to be a higher power, whether it's the universe, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a preachy person, but God is my higher power. And so I go to him, and I'm just like, okay, I know you got this, because I can't do it right now. And every time I go into the ring to spar, I bless myself. When I fight, I bless myself every round because I'm like, okay. And it's not just about me; it's about my opponent. I don't want us. I want us to come out okay because at the end of the day, you know, I've had teammates die in the ring. You know, a professional. You know, I had a teammate that I trained with in California, and he died. And you know, and I know other guys. You know, Pritchard Colon, who I was watching the fight, where now he's like a vegetable. He can't move. He's in a wheelchair, and he was a phenomenal athlete. And it's just hard to see all that, you know, and young girls too, you know, that also are going through that, you know, because this game isn't a game. It's a tough game, and it's a hard business and a tough game. And you know, you need something to know it's bigger than you, you know, to really be there. And at night when I rest my head, and I have my Bible studies once a week, every other week, and I have a very close group of Christian women that I turn to, and we have text messages. We pray for each other when we need prayer. We meet up. You know, one of my Bible study leader, her husband is Jared Gordon, who just won the UFC fight this weekend.
Oh yeah.
So we were all praying. Jared's got a phenomenal story. I know Jared. I trained with Jared with Phil 2 years ago, and I know Jared well, and we go to the same church. So his wife was on American Ninja Warrior, so she's a gymnast. She's amazing. Listen, I have a group of amazing, strong Christian men and women around me, and I'm just so grateful. And you know, and it helps me. You know, it really helps me to have that connection. My church here, Victory, is wonderful. And then, you know, I have my group of my core where I'm just like, okay, you know, I need this, I need that. But for me, it's really, my whole life has really been about, you know, faith and God carrying me when I couldn't carry myself. Because when you've been close to death, where somebody's strangling you to death, and the words that go through your head when you're 18 years old, and the words that go through your head are, God, if it's my time, take me. You have a whole new understanding of faith, because that's what went through my mind. My ex tried to strangle me to death, and I was losing oxygen to my brain. And I said, God, if it's my time, take me, because I thought I was going to die. That's horrible. That's a horrible place to be.
You know, it's powerful. That's powerful there.
So for me, it was like that, and then the depression, and he never dropped me. It wasn't my time. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to live, I'm going to live with a purpose, and I'm going to live to glorify you. And I'm going to, you know, believe and walk what you have, walk the path that you have laid out for me.
Let me ask you this: when you're done, and you're retired, and what do you want Maureen Shea's legacy to be?
You know, I'm going to write a book. That's been my dream, and I've written a bit of it, and I just want to write a book for people that want to hear my story, for people that, you know, however it's going to be promoted. I don't care if 5 people read it. I don't care if like 10 people read it. Like, I just want I want somebody to take something from it and learn from my story. And right now I just enjoy helping, you know, where I can. I have a young girl, Evelyn Romo, who's fighting an amateur fight next week. She's got a few amateur fights. I think she's 26. She's my sparring partner. And I love giving her my knowledge and experience. We have teaching moments every time we spar. I mean, we're sparring, we're going like, you know, we're going at it. But there's moments where, like, for the example, the other day, she got me in a clinch, but it was a very loose clinch. And if she wasn't who she was, I would have done something physical that probably would have hurt her, you know? But I told her, like, no, the next round, I'm going to do it to you. And that's how you have to clinch me, because I want her to be like, I want her to grow. So I got a teaching moment. I got to give her, and because of my experience, I was able to see the opportunity, grab her, show her, and then she understood. And now today she did it to me, and I was like, yeah, I was so happy. Meanwhile, I was like, oh, like, she's coming at me. But you know, it's like those moments that I have. So I guess I just want, like, listen, if she can remember that and take that with her, like, I guess that's the legacy of whoever life I can touch now with my experience, my knowledge, and just, you know, the gifts that God gave me. That's just what I care about. I don't care about fame. I don't care about Instagram followers and all that. I'm not going to pose naked. I'm not going to get an OnlyFans. I don't give a shit. I tried
OnlyFans. I got no subscribers. No.
How are your feet? They got feet fine.
That's about what I'm good at. No, I have terrible bunions and shit. I couldn't be good. It's just bad. It's just
maybe they have a site for those kinds of feet.
You know what? I think there are some freaky people out there. I could be, like, quite honestly, they might be.
But
dealing with people like you and Leo, and just in the close knit box is a small community. It's mind boggling to me that we have so many similar stories. Between Leo,
that's God's plan. There's a reason. We're all the soldiers that come together because we need each other. We need each other.
We really do. And are there any plans of you coming up this way at all?
Yeah. So I know Leo's doing another fight. Excuse me. What did he say? Was it
April 27th?
So it's in my phone. So as long as I'm not fighting for a world title, and if I'm fighting for a world title, he's not fighting. He's coming to my fight. So we got that already. But I wanted to come I wanted to come on the 1st for this last one, but it was just so hard with I'm just taking care, like my mom and my aunt are older, so I've been taking care of my aunt's stuff, and I had a 3-hour appointment with an attorney today, an estate attorney, so it was like I'm taking care of a lot of
attorneys. Gotta love
I was like, I mean, this guy was wonderful, but it's just I'm learning a lot. But it's a lot of responsibility, which I don't mind because it's my aunt. She has no kids, and I love her to death. My mom's identical twin sister. So, I learned to have to prioritize, and I'm grateful that Leo, and there's a lot of people in my life that my best friend I haven't seen since 2019, since I moved out here. My best friend, she lives in Arizona. She lives in California. She's in Arizona. And I had a plane ticket to go see her. And then they booked my last fight. And I'm like, then I was going to go out and see her in October, but then this fight happened. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, Melissa, I will get out there. So I'm going to get out there, but I think April, or maybe before, but not when it's too cold. I don't do winters in Berwick.
No.
One winter in Berwick. God bless you.
Yeah, no, it's not good. Not good. I mean, but you were up here in the north. You were in New York for quite a while. They had some snow up there. I can tell you
I've been out of New York since 2011. Definitely not acclimated anymore.
Yeah, not going back. Not going back there. Not at this time. No. But I'm gonna wrap things up quickly. But Maureen, I would love to have you on more. You're a great speaker. You're a great speaker. Leo tells me all the time. He's like, "Oh, you get Maureen," and I wanted to get you on earlier to go over the fights because there was fights I want to ask you about. I couldn't get it here.
I can co-host with you if you want to bring me on as a guest co-host. Let me know.
Let's go. Let's do it because I can tell you, it's like we can talk and I could say, now you get Leo on. There's a lot of ums and whats and whatever. He can't do that. No, he just gets flustered. But if we weren't taping, he'd be fine. That second little red dot comes on, he freezes. I said, just go. You're fine. I mean, but like I'm a salesman, you're a saleswoman, so you can kind of do that. You got to sell yourself. Yeah. But this has been an absolute pleasure and honor.
Thank you
to come down. Do you have any social media that you'd like to promote here?
Yeah, I have Maureen_Shea is my Instagram. And then I have Twitter, which I really don't go on Twitter. I have Threads. I have no time. I'm an executive assistant for Phil Daru. So my life when I'm not boxing is Phil Daru. So it's on my Instagram too. You can follow Phil Daru at Daru Strong.
You're promoting it. See, that's what you do as the executive producer.
So, yeah. Phil's he's my strength and conditioning coach. I've been with Phil since 2016, and he's the reason at 42 I'm in the shape that I'm in, and my joints, my ligaments, my tendons aren't snapping, and they're still explosive, and it's great. So yeah, you can check him out. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I have Facebook too. And if anybody wants to reach out, if you have questions about anything that I've spoken about today, if anything, if anything that I can help with, let me know.
And you are a plethora of knowledge. I could be attest to that. Like I said, beauty and boxing, never in the same sentence. It used to be within me, but I stopped that. But anyway, Maureen, again, thank you for coming. And I look forward. You're going to see Maureen on more than you think.
I look forward to it. No problem. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.